The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled under the light of 3 suns. Inside, 200 alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising circular tiers, all eyes fixed on the human ambassador standing at the center. Ambassador Tom Miller, a tall man with graying hair and weathered features, stood calmly as whispers echoed through the chamber. The head counselor, a tall blue-skinned being named Rel, raised all 4 of his hands for silence. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Honored Ambassador of Earth, we bring you here today with a desperate plea. We beg you, keep your planet out of this war." Tom's expression remained neutral, but his eyes narrowed slightly. Earth had been watching the growing conflict between the Empire and the free worlds for months. Both sides had been secretly approaching Earth, trying to win humanity's support. But this was new. "With all due respect, Head Counselor," Tom replied, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "Earth has made no moves to enter this conflict. Why does this neutral council suddenly feel the need to make such a request?" A ripple of uncomfortable movements passed through the assembled aliens. Some shifted in their seats, others changed colors in distress. Rel's blue skin had taken on a distinctly pale shade. "We have seen the reports," another counselor, a reptilian being named Dash, spoke up. "We know what happened in the Proxima Centauri incident last month." Tom's jaw tightened. The Proxima Centauri incident had been classified. A group of space pirates had attempted to raid Earth's first extrasolar colony. The response had been decisive. "That was a simple defense of our territory," Tom said carefully. "As is our right under galactic law." "Simple?" Dash's scales rattled in agitation. "Your ships destroyed their entire fleet in under 10 minutes. Ships that had successfully raided dozens of other worlds. And you call this simple?" Before Tom could respond, Rel projected a hologram in the center of the chamber. It showed Earth's military capabilities compared to both the Empire and the free worlds. The data was incomplete, but what it revealed caused several council members to emit noises of distress. "Your species," Rel said, his voice quavering, "has been spacefaring for less than a century. Yet in that time, you've developed technologies that neither the Empire or the free worlds have mastered in 1,000 years. Your understanding of warfare." He paused, all 4 hands trembling. "We've seen your history. You've had more wars in your short civilization than most species have in their entire existence. You've turned this endless conflict into an art form." Tom remained silent, letting them continue. He knew Earth's history, both its shame and its pride. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself multiple times before finally reaching for the stars. But those same struggles had forged them into something unique in the galaxy. "If Earth joins either side," another counselor spoke up, "the war won't just escalate, it will transform into something the galaxy has never seen. Your methods, your strategies, they're completely foreign to both the Empire and the free worlds. Neither side truly understands what they're asking for by seeking your alliance. And that," Rel concluded, "is why we beg you to stay neutral. Not for your sake, but for the sake of galactic civilization as we know it." Tom looked around the chamber, meeting the fearful eyes of dozens of species. He thought about the classified reports sitting on his desk back on Earth, the Empire's latest atrocities, the free world's desperate resistance, the mounting civilian casualties. He thought about humanity's own blood-soaked history, and the lessons learned at terrible cost. Finally, he spoke, his voice firm but quiet, "I will convey your concerns to Earth's government. But I must ask you something in return." He paused, making sure he had their complete attention. "If we stay out of this war, what happens to the civilian populations caught in the crossfire? Who protects them?" The silence that followed was deafening. The council members looked at each other uneasily, and in that moment, Tom knew that humanity's path forward would not be as simple as they hoped. Sometimes, the most terrible thing wasn't getting involved in a war, it was standing by and watching it happen. Back on Earth, the Global Defense Council sat in the underground chamber beneath Geneva, reviewing Ambassador Tom Miller's report from the Galactic Council meeting. The room was silent except for the soft hum of holographic displays showing the latest battle footage from the frontier worlds. General Anna West, a veteran of the Mars Liberation Campaign, stood up and pointed to one of the projections. "This is what the Empire did to New Haven Colony last week," she said, her voice tight with controlled anger. The footage showed the aftermath of an orbital bombardment, entire cities reduced to glass craters. 3 million civilians, President Mark Rogers said quietly, his dark skin ashen in the blue light of the holograms. Men, women, children. The free worlds couldn't protect them. Tom sat at his place at the table, watching his colleagues wrestle with the weight of their decision. The Galactic Council's warning still rang in his ears, but so did the screams from the New Haven footage. "The Council is right about one thing," Admiral James Thompson spoke up, his weathered face grim. "If we get involved, this war will change. Our combat doctrine is completely different from anything out there. We don't fight wars of position like the Empire, or wars of attrition like the free worlds. We fight to win, quickly and decisively." Defense Minister Laura Cole nodded, spreading out a series of data tablets. "Our simulations show we could turn the tide in under a month. Our stealth technology is generations ahead of either side. They still think faster-than-light combat is impossible, we mastered it 20 years ago." "But that's exactly what the Council fears," Tom interjected. "They're not just worried about who wins, they're worried about how we'll change galactic warfare forever. Everything we consider standard military doctrine would look like black magic to them." The room fell silent again as a new transmission came in. The holographic display shifted to show a free world's refugee ship, burning as Imperial cruisers picked it apart. The transmission cut off abruptly. President Rogers stood up slowly, his expression heavy with the burden of command. "We've seen this before," he said softly. "In our own history. We've seen what happens when powerful nations stand by and watch atrocities unfold, all in the name of maintaining stability. The Empire is getting bolder," General West added. "New Haven was just the beginning. They're testing to see if anyone will stop them. If we do nothing, more colonies will burn." Tom thought back to the fearful faces in the council chamber. "If we intervene," he said, "we'll be changing the galaxy forever. There's no going back. Every future conflict will be fought with our methods, our strategies. The galaxy will have to evolve or perish." "Perhaps," President Rogers replied, "that's exactly what needs to happen." He turned to face the assembled leaders. "Humanity spent thousands of years learning the true cost of war. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times before we finally learned. If the galaxy fears our warfare, maybe they should. Maybe it's time they learned what we learned, that war should be decisive, quick, and fought to end wars, not prolong them." Admiral Thompson's fingers flew across his console. "We can have the first fleet ready in 72 hours. The Empire won't expect our FTL combat capabilities. We can hit their staging areas before they even know we're there." President Rogers held up his hand. "Before we vote, remember, this isn't just about military victory. This is about responsibility. Earth is young compared to these civilizations, but we've learned harsh lessons they haven't. Sometimes the greatest mercy is a swift end to conflict." The vote was unanimous. Within hours, Earth's response to both the Empire and the free worlds would be drafted. The message to the Galactic Council would be brief but clear: Earth could no longer stand by and watch. The galaxy feared humanity's way of war, they were about to learn why that fear was justified, but also why it might be their salvation. The Imperial Commander Dal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, watching his fleet prepare for another attack run on Free World's territory. 50 warships, the pride of the Empire's third attack fleet, moved into formation around his vessel. Their next target was the Free World's agricultural center on Beta 9, home to 10 million civilians. Status report, Dal demanded, his tentacles writhing with anticipation of another easy victory. All ships in attack formation, Commander, his second-in-command reported. No significant defensive forces detected. Beta 9 will fall within hours. Dal smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. The free worlds were weakening. Soon, their rebellion would be crushed, and the Empire would. Sir! The sensor officer's cry cut through his thoughts. Unknown energy signatures detected. What? Dal turned to the main display. Show me. Before the officer could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Where there had been empty void moments before, now hung 5 ships of unfamiliar design. They were smaller than Imperial warships, sleek and predatory-looking. On their hulls, clear markings showed EFS, Earth Fleet Ship. Impossible, Dal whispered. They can't have reached us so quickly. We're 30 light-years from Earth territory. Admiral Thompson's voice boomed across all Imperial communication channels. This is the Earth First Fleet to Imperial forces. You are hereby ordered to power down your weapons and engines. This sector is now under Earth protection. You have 1 minute to comply. Dal laughed, though his tentacles twitched nervously. 5 ships against 50. Open fire. Show these humans the power of the Imperial. He never finished his sentence. The Earth ships moved in ways that defied physics as the Empire understood it. They seemed to blink in and out of existence, appearing at point-blank range before vanishing again. Their weapons were unlike anything Dal had ever seen, beams of concentrated energy that simply ignored Imperial shields as if they weren't there. Sir, his weapons officer screamed. They're targeting systems, they're predicting our movements before we make them. They're hitting our weak points with perfect accuracy. In the first 30 seconds, 15 Imperial ships erupted in silent explosions. The Earth vessels moved like deadly dancers through the Imperial formation, their attacks precise and devastating. There was no wasted energy, no missed shots, no glorious exchange of broadsides that Imperial doctrine called for. This was surgery with warships. Recall the fleet. Dal ordered, his confidence shattered. Reform defensive formation. Too late, his second-in-command whispered. The final phase of the battle lasted exactly 20 seconds. Earth ships released swarms of small, autonomous combat drones that the Imperial sensors barely detected. These drones targeted engine sections and weapon systems with terrifying precision, disabling rather than destroying the remaining ships. Within 53 seconds of Earth's arrival, the mighty Third Attack Fleet was reduced to drifting hulks. Not a single Earth ship had been hit. On the bridge of the EFS Normandy, Admiral Thompson watched the aftermath with grim satisfaction. Signal to all disabled Imperial vessels, prepare to be boarded. Rescue operations for damaged ships will begin immediately. Earth medical personnel are standing by. He turned to his communications officer. Send word to command. Phase 1 complete. Minimal casualties on the Imperial side, mostly automated systems and drone crews. No civilian casualties. All remaining Imperial crew will be detained and treated according to Earth war conventions. As Earth rescue ships appeared to help the surviving Imperial crews, Admiral Thompson drafted a brief message to the Galactic Council: Earth fleet engagement complete. Imperial Third Attack Fleet neutralized. 50 ships disabled. Civilian population of Beta 9 secured. Total engagement time, 53 seconds. This is how Earth fights wars. Swift. Precise. Minimal loss of life. We didn't come to prolong this conflict, we came to end it. In the days that followed, the footage of the Battle of Beta 9 would spread across the galaxy. Species that had known war for millennia watched in stunned silence as humanity demonstrated warfare on a level they had never imagined. The Empire had expected Earth to be another piece on the game board. Instead, humanity had just changed the rules of the game itself. The emergency session of the Imperial High Command was chaos. The massive war room, deep within the Imperial Palace on their throne world, echoed with shouts and accusations. Holograms showed the Battle of Beta 9 from multiple angles, playing on repeat as the Empire's highest military leaders watched their invincible fleet torn apart in less than a minute. High Admiral Rex, the Empire's supreme military commander, slammed his metallic fist onto the table. 3 days. They've been in this war for 3 days, and they've already destroyed or captured 5 of our fleets. How is this possible? The Imperial Military Intelligence Director, an ancient being named Vex, activated a new hologram. It's not just their technology, he said, his voice trembling. It's their entire approach to warfare. Look at these tactical analyses. The hologram showed Earth fleet movements across disputed territories. Each engagement followed the same pattern: appear, disable, secure, protect. No Earth ship had yet been destroyed or even damaged. They simply didn't fight in ways that allowed for traditional combat. They're targeting our command and control systems, one general noted. Not just our ships, they're dismantling our entire military structure. Every officer they capture is treated well, but they're systematically removing our ability to coordinate large-scale operations. Meanwhile, in Free World's territory, their leadership was having its own crisis. President of the Free Worlds Alliance, Ben Reed, sat with his advisors watching the latest reports. Earth's intervention had saved them, but it had also revealed how primitive their own military capabilities were. They're not just fighting the Empire, Reed said, studying the reports. They're changing the very nature of warfare in our galaxy. Look at these training programs they're offering our forces. The reports showed Earth instructors teaching Free World's crews new combat doctrines. Precision over power. Surgical strikes over mass attacks. Protection of civilian populations as a primary objective, not an afterthought. Back on Earth, Defense Minister Cole presented the latest updates to the Global Defense Council. The Empire has lost 30% of its offensive capability in 3 days. More importantly, their remaining commanders are becoming hesitant to engage. The psychological impact of our victories is spreading faster than our fleets. President Rogers nodded, studying the galactic map. And the Free Worlds? They're adapting quickly, General West replied. Their crews are eager to learn our methods. They understand that the galaxy is changing, and they want to be part of that change. A priority transmission interrupted their meeting. The hologram showed Ambassador Tom Miller at the Galactic Council. Mr. President, the Council has just received a message from the Imperial Palace. The Empire they're requesting a ceasefire. The room fell silent. 3 days. It had taken just 3 days for humanity to force the mighty Empire to consider peace. Their conditions? Rogers asked. That's the surprising part, sir, Tom replied. They're not making demands. They're asking for teachers. They want to understand how we fight, how we think. The Empire's younger leaders are staging what amounts to a peaceful internal revolution. They're saying that any civilization that can win wars without mass destruction must know something they don't. President Rogers shared a look with his advisors. This was more than victory, this was transformation. Earth hadn't just won battles, they had demonstrated a better way of fighting wars. And now, both sides wanted to learn. There's more, Tom continued. The Galactic Council has officially withdrawn their request for Earth to stay out of the war. Instead, they're asking for Earth to take a permanent seat on the Council. They're saying that any species that can end a century-long war in 3 days, while minimizing casualties on both sides, has earned the right to help guide galactic civilization. As the implications sank in, President Rogers realized that humanity's impact on the galaxy would go far beyond this one conflict. They hadn't just changed how the galaxy fought wars, they had changed how it thought about war itself. And perhaps that was the greatest victory of all. 1 month after Earth's intervention, the galaxy was transforming in ways no one had predicted. In the newly established Joint Training Center on neutral planet Atlas, Imperial and Free Worlds crews trained side by side under Earth instructors. The massive facility hummed with activity as former enemies learned to see warfare, and each other, through human eyes. Commander Jack Wilson, Earth's head instructor, watched from an observation deck as mixed teams of Imperial and Free Worlds personnel ran combat simulations. Below, a young Imperial officer named Raul worked seamlessly with a Free Worlds tactical expert, coordinating their responses to a complex rescue scenario. Remember, Jack called out over the communications system, "Your priority is civilian protection. Show me how you'll evacuate the colony without losing a single life." The response from both teams showed how far they'd come. Instead of the brute force approaches their cultures had relied on for millennia, they demonstrated precise, coordinated actions that would have been unthinkable just weeks ago. "It's remarkable," said Admiral Thompson, who had joined Jack on the observation deck. "They're not just learning our tactics, they're understanding our philosophy." In another part of the facility, Earth engineers worked with alien technicians to upgrade their ships with new defensive systems. The focus wasn't on creating better weapons, but on developing better protection, better rescue capabilities, better ways to end conflicts without destruction. Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Tom Miller sat in a historic session. The council chamber had been reorganized, with Earth's new permanent seat positioned symbolically between the Empire and Free World sections. The agenda today was ambitious, creating a new framework for galactic peace. "The Earth Doctrine," Rel announced to the assembled representatives, "has shown us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the ability to prevent destruction." Their victory came not from superior firepower, but from superior wisdom. Tom watched as former enemies nodded in agreement. The Empire's new leadership, mostly younger officers who had witnessed Earth's capabilities firsthand, had embraced change with surprising enthusiasm. The Free Worlds, too, had discovered that their long-held beliefs about warfare needed to evolve. "We propose," continued Dash, now speaking for a joint Imperial Free Worlds Commission, "the establishment of a unified galactic defense force, trained in Earth methods and principles. Not to wage war, but to prevent it. To protect rather than destroy. To stand ready against any threat that would harm our civilian populations." Back on Earth, President Rogers reviewed the latest reports with his council. The statistics were remarkable. Conflict across known space had dropped by 70%. Trade between formerly hostile systems had increased. Cultural exchange programs were flourishing as species that had once fought each other now worked to understand their differences. "We did more than stop a war," Defense Minister Cole observed. "We showed them a better way to handle conflict itself. The galaxy feared our way of war, now they're embracing our way of peace." But not everyone was so easily convinced. In the dark spaces between stars, elements of the old Imperial Guard gathered their forces. Some Free Worlds extremists, too, resisted the new order. They couldn't accept that centuries of military tradition could be overturned so quickly. Admiral Thompson's reports highlighted these concerns. "We're tracking several rogue Imperial fleet elements," he told the Defense Council. "They're calling themselves the True Empire. And some Free World separatist groups are apparently joining them." President Rogers studied the reports carefully. "They think we've gone soft," he said, "that our emphasis on protecting life makes us weak. They don't understand that our restraint is a choice, not a limitation. Should we show them otherwise?" General West asked quietly. Rogers shook his head. "Not yet. Let's give them time to see what we're building here. Sometimes the hardest battle is convincing others that there's a better way to fight. As the galactic transformation continued, Earth's influence spread far beyond military matters. Species that had been locked in endless cycles of violence began to see new possibilities. The galaxy had feared Earth would bring unprecedented destruction. Instead, humanity had brought something far more powerful: hope. The rogue Imperial warship emerged from hyperspace above the peaceful colony world of Haven, its weapons already charging. Behind it came 12 more ships, a mix of Imperial deserters and free world separatists. Their hulls were marked with a new symbol, a broken crown wrapped in chains, the emblem of the resistance movement. "This is Admiral Kruss of the True Empire," a harsh voice broadcast across all frequencies. "We are here to demonstrate the weakness of Earth's so-called enlightened warfare. Surrender your colony or face real Imperial justice." In Haven's control center, Governor Pete Morris watched the threat unfold with remarkable calm. The colony's 10 million inhabitants continued their daily lives, protected by Earth's new defense systems. He opened a channel to the attacking fleet. "Admiral Kruss," he said steadily, "I strongly advise you to reconsider your actions. Haven is under Earth protection. You've seen what that means." Kruss's laughter crackled through the comm system. "We've studied the Battle of Beta 9. We know Earth's tricks now. We've modified our ships, strengthened our shields. Your surgical strikes won't work this time. Sometimes, the old ways are best: overwhelming force and the courage to use it." The rebel fleet moved into attack formation. But before they could fire, space rippled around them. 3 Earth vessels materialized, but they weren't warships. They were clearly marked as medical and evacuation ships. This wasn't what Kruss had expected. "Where are your weapons?" he demanded. "Where are your mighty warships?" The calm voice of Captain Lisa Reed responded from the lead Earth vessel. "Admiral Kruss, we're not here to fight you. We're here to save you." Suddenly, alarms blared across the rebel fleet. Their weapons systems began powering down. Shield generators failed. Engine cores went into emergency shutdown. Computer systems displayed the same message across every screen: protection protocol activated. In the weeks since the war's end, Earth engineers hadn't been idle. While teaching their new allies, they had also been quietly upgrading the galaxy's infrastructure. Hidden protocols and fail-safes had been woven into the very fabric of modern space technology. Not to destroy or harm, but to protect and prevent. Impossible. Kruss raged as his mighty flagship turned into a floating hulk. "How did you?" "The old empire fell because it never understood true power," Captain Reed explained. "Real strength isn't in the ability to destroy. It's in the foresight to prevent destruction. We didn't need to bring warships today, Admiral. We already won this battle weeks ago." As Earth's medical ships moved to assist the now powerless rebel fleet, a new transmission reached Haven. It was Admiral Thompson, speaking from Earth Command. "Status report? Protection protocol successful, Admiral," Captain Reed reported. "No casualties. No damage to colonial infrastructure. Rebel fleet neutralized through automatic systems. Medical teams are moving in to ensure the safety of all crew members." On Earth, the Defense Council watched the situation unfold. President Rogers smiled slightly. "They thought we'd responded too softly to their rebellion. They never understood that we'd already won, not through force, but through innovation and preparation." The news spread quickly across the galaxy. The last desperate attempt to restart the old ways of warfare had failed, not with a bang, but with a whisper. Earth's influence had spread far deeper than anyone had realized. They hadn't just changed military doctrine, they'd fundamentally altered the way war could be waged in the galaxy. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Tom Miller received countless messages of gratitude. Not just for stopping the rebels, but for showing yet again that there was a better way. Earth's weakness, their insistence on protecting life above all else, had proved to be their greatest strength. As the medical ships began evacuating the rebel crews, Captain Reed sent one final message to Admiral Cruss: "Welcome to the new galaxy, Admiral. We look forward to teaching you, just as we've taught so many others. The true victory isn't in defeating your enemy, it's in turning them into allies." 1 year after the Galactic Council had begged Earth to stay out of the war, the galaxy gathered to celebrate the inaugural ceremony of the United Galactic Defense Force. The massive space station Unity, jointly constructed by Earth, Imperial, and Free World's engineers, hosted representatives from every known species. In the Grand Assembly Hall, Admiral Thompson stood beside former Imperial Commander Dal, who now served as his second-in-command for the Defense Force. Together, they watched as ships from across the galaxy performed a synchronized flight demonstration, a display of unity that would have been unthinkable just 1 year ago. "You know," Dal said, his tentacles moving thoughtfully, "when we first encountered Earth ships at Beta 9, I thought we were witnessing the end of our way of life. In a way, I was right, but not how I expected." Thompson nodded, remembering that first battle. Sometimes the end of one thing is just the beginning of something better. Below them, in the station's main diplomatic chamber, President Rogers addressed the assembled galactic representatives. The chamber had been designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and environmental needs, another testament to Earth's influence on galactic cooperation. 1 year ago, Rogers began, this council feared Earth's intervention in the war. They worried we would bring unprecedented destruction. Instead, we brought unprecedented peace. Not through superior firepower, but through superior vision. He gestured to the massive viewport, where the combined fleet displayed Earth's new defense technologies. Ships that once carried weapons of mass destruction now housed medical facilities and rescue equipment. The very technology that had made Earth's warriors so fearsome had been transformed to protect and preserve life. Ambassador Tom Miller, seated beside Head Counselor Rel, smiled as he remembered their first tense meeting. Rel caught his eye and spread all 4 hands in a gesture of friendship. "Who would have thought," Rel whispered, "that the species we feared most would teach us to stop fearing altogether." The ceremony continued as President Rogers unveiled the new Galactic Peace Initiative. The program would transform former military installations into research centers, focusing on solving common challenges facing all species. The same precision and innovation that Earth had brought to warfare would now be applied to medicine, environmental protection, and space exploration. Former Admiral Cruss, who had once led the resistance against Earth's influence, now stood to address the assembly. His time in Earth's rehabilitation program had transformed him. "I was wrong," he admitted, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. "I thought Earth's way of protecting life was weakness. But it takes far more strength to preserve than to destroy. Their victory wasn't in defeating us, it was in showing us a better path." In Earth's orbital shipyards, the next generation of galactic vessels was already under construction. These ships carried no weapons, but their defensive and rescue capabilities surpassed anything seen before. They represented humanity's gift to the galaxy, the technology to prevent conflicts rather than win them. President Rogers concluded his speech with words that would be remembered for generations. The Galactic Council once feared that Earth would change warfare forever. They were right. We ended it. Not through fear, not through force, but through the simple truth that protection is stronger than destruction. We didn't just stop a war, we made war itself obsolete. As the ceremony drew to a close, Ambassador Tom Miller stood at the same spot where, a year ago, he had heard the Council's desperate plea to keep Earth out of the war. Now, he watched as former enemies worked together, as species that had fought for centuries shared knowledge and resources, as the galaxy learned that true power lay not in the ability to take life, but in the commitment to preserve it. The stars shone brightly through Unity Station's vast windows, seeming to sparkle with new promise. Humanity had indeed changed the galaxy forever, not as conquerors, but as teachers. Not through the art of war, but through the science of peace. The galaxy had feared Earth's entry into the war, never realizing that this fear would lead to something remarkable, the end of fear itself.